Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's live stream AMA. We're happy to be here with you guys as we always are. Okay, so I'm gonna go through some questions that I've gotten just over the past few days. Luke will give the usual company update, and then we'll obviously answer all of your questions. So if you have questions, throw them in the YouTube live chat or the Twitter live chat, and let's bring up Luke.
Hello, everybody. Excited to be here today. Yeah, I feel like there's so much going on all at once. We have some big things that are finally starting to get out, which is awesome. Like, for example, last week we got the huge Animal Care update out, which the team have been working on for a while. We still have some of the other initiatives that we've been working on in the Pixel ecosystem coming out soon as well, like Stacks, like a bigger release of Chubkins, and yeah, we have some big announcements and changes coming in the near future as well too when it comes to how we handle things like staking, token emissions, and all of that moving forward. Honestly, I don't want to spoil all the news and like all the things we're planning, and there's still a little bit of work in progress on finalizing some of these plans. But we'll talk a little bit about our mindset today and the direction that we're thinking and why we're thinking this. It ties a lot into the previous article I just released. I kind of went over like the state of Web3 gaming in general. And I think I released that actually after the AMA last week. So there might be some interesting things that we can run through in there. If people have some questions, we can kind of go through some of like the mindset behind what we're building at Pixels and how we see the future of like what we're building next as well. And yeah, that whole article kind of sets the foundation for future decisions that we're making here at Pixels, how we can be the best stewards of the ecosystem moving forward, how we can respond to, anything that gets thrown at the team, basically, and kind of the layout for the next year or two, right? So, yeah, we'll go through questions. We'll keep this like a normal AMA, and yeah, we'll keep going.
Okay. Should I start or you?
Yeah, why don't you start today?
Okay, cool. All right. So I have gotten several questions about the new industry, the Alchemic Forge, and what are boosts? How do they work? So I thought we would do just a refresher together on all of that. So let me share my screen here. There's two parts to this. I'm gonna show you an old article from the Pixels post where we briefly talked about what boosts are. And I'll like talk through it, and then I'll also show you what it all looks like in game. Okay, so what are boosts? Boosts are limited time potions that can increase your productivity for specific industries. So each industry has two different types of boosts. There are yield boosts or speed boosts. So yield means like how much you get, So if I'm farming, usually if I plant 10 pot berries, I'm going to get 10 pot berries. But if I have a yield boost potion in play, it increases the chance of getting a double yield. So I could get 11, maybe could even get 12 if I'm really lucky. So that's what the yield one. Speed is pretty straightforward. Things take time. It speeds up how long things take. So that things are quicker. And then of course there's some like nitty gritty there that they stack. Note that boosts that have the same percentage do not stack. They just extend the amount of time that yield boost is around. And yeah, in this, it's like consume and get going. Now, this is a very old article. This is when the merchant ships, I think the big update came out, fishing ponds. You know how this feels like 10 years ago? And it was October. Yeah, so obviously things have changed a bit from this article. So let's dive into the game itself so that I can like show you what it looks like in prod. Okay. Okay, let's go to, I put a couple on my land for demo. So the industry is similar to other industries in that there are 4 tiers of the industry itself. This one's a little different because they look quite different from each other. Obviously, there are industry limits, so I couldn't show you all of them. But this is the tier 1. It's not the happiest looking forge. Of course, I love the who's here right now? We have visitors. I love the look of the tier 4 one. So let's just open up the tier 4 one. So the boosts themselves are a little bit different. Okay, sorry. Design team is harassing me. I haven't said anything wrong. It's fine. Last time I got called out really hard for mispronunciation. So we're trying our best today. Okay, so the potions themselves, the boosts. Let's not call them potions. There's too many potions in the game. Boosts. They can be crafted here, and they don't have tiers. They kind of have like 1, 2, 3, which you can call a tier if you feel like it, but it's kind of like good, better, best. So in here, this is where you craft all of them. So back when we did the big update and I just showed you the really old Pixels post article, you couldn't craft them back then. I think you won them through like gachas, and I think in the Neon Zone had some. Now you can actually craft them yourself, which is amazing. And then you can also craft this guy, which I feel like no one's really been talking about this. This is pretty exciting. It lasts longer than the regular rod. So anyways, back to boosts. So I'm going to quickly read out a couple points about boosts too. So they exist for all industries. There's a yield one and a speed one, which we already went through. They increase your chance at getting like a 2-time drop, or the speed, obviously. Speed boost cuts time. Yeah, great. And you can see them when you consume them. You can see them. So let's craft one together and we can show it. So animal care, speed boost. So they all depend on your levels. So if we open up tier, I am nowhere near level 85 in any industry. So I don't have access to the 3rd level here of boost. And one other note I wanted to make about, good, better, best, 1, 2, 3 versions of these boosts is that, so obviously good, better, best is kind of a good way to put it. Like tier 1 is good, but it lasts longer. That's the thing. Number 3, boost 3, the best benefits, but they last like a shorter amount of time than 1. So you kind of have to figure out, am I going to have enough time, and like, is it going to make sense to, did it just start on its own? Oh no, someone started using it. That is so rude.
Hey, you can use some Quicksilver, can't you?
I will. Mr. Witaminka, you just made me think that I had a ghost in here that just like started crafting. All right. Well, anyways, I don't remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, you kind of have to. Okay, so if you're using like a 1, a 2, or a 3, you kind of have to figure out like, do I want like really good yield or really good like speed boosting for a shorter amount of time, or like less good, but it's going to last me way longer. So you can kind of figure out, and I would say like experiment with what makes sense for you. Now we're going to craft. This is rude. That's a lot of Quicksilver. Okay. Anyways, I'm going to finish theirs. And should we do animal care? We can do farming. I have the resources for a couple of them. Animal care. I don't think I have forestry. Maybe mining. What's interesting here? Mining, speed boost, yield, speed. I can do that. Let's do this one. All right. So they take a bit of time. So I'm going to use more Quicksilver to speed this up. Great. Okay. I'm going to go to one of my lands that has some mines on it so we can make, oh wait, this is mines on it. Never mind. I can just use these ones. Perfect. We don't have to go anywhere. So let me consume that. Oh no, my inventory is horrendous. Why is that flashing green? I was really hoping that the boost would be flashing green. Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay, we're good. So I'm going to consume it. And then I've zoomed out a lot, so it's not showing great. Okay, well, it's there. You can see I have a 5% boost on mining, and it's going to last me 11 hours. So let's start mining. Luke, have you seen any questions about... Oh, did someone just start mining? This is rude.
I've been starring some questions.
You guys are rude. Okay, I have some mines on this end, so I'm gonna go there and see if they're in use.
People really want more shimmer slime.
Yes. Okay, hold on. Are these in use too? Of course they're in use. Of course. Make me use all my Quicksilver. All right. I'm just gonna demo like one mine here. Great, now you've seen it. Excellent. Yeah, it's kind of hard to demo these things. Besides, like you can see this guy up at the top here. Okay, 1 second. Okay, let's go back and stare at the forge because why not? I bet it's in use already. Who's that? That was a skeleton. Some of the avatars are so cool. Oh, we've got a whole crew here now. What's up, guys? Oh, and no one's using it. I'm gonna do it again. Farming boost this time. Great. Okay. All right, so what did you say? People wanted more shimmer slime. So you get that from certain slugs. So it's just a matter of get good. I don't know. Some things have to be rare, you know? Okay. Let's look at the questions you started and see if there's anything here. Do you have to craft the forge? Yes. I think it was craftable at, I think it's metalworking stations. Hold on, I can check what we said in the release. Give me 1 second, 1 second. Metalworking, yeah. Yeah. Oh, and I lost the live stream. There we are, I'm back. Yes. Should we go look at the recipes for it? Let me go find the recipe for it. Where do I have metalworking stations? I used to have some on this land. Do I still have them on that land? It's been a while since I've... Okay, someone give me a land with a metalworking station on it. There you go. Okay, 3965. I love this UGC. There we go. Watch me not have high enough level to make it. What's just gonna happen here? Okay, there we go. So there's one of them. So for your grade 1 alchemic forge, you need some slime wood, nails, yeah, volatile yolk compound. There's so many ingredients in game. I like, can't even keep track anymore. Let's see. I can't even click on it. Yeah. What do you need? Metalworking 50. No such luck, but yes, you craft them here. Okay, let's look back at these questions. Yeah, so you have to craft it at metalworking stations. It's funny because I feel like there's been a lot of there's a lot of comments and questions about like the balance of the new update and things being really hard to get. And it's interesting because this happens every time we release a new update. And I'm not saying you're wrong, but it's a new update. And I feel like there's always a rush and like a desire to get your hands on absolutely everything as quickly as possible.
Yeah,
Right. But that's
so
not really fun for long-term gameplay. So it's like a balance of like some things might need to be rebalanced. We do need to make tweaks. Some things you got to work hard for. Do you want to talk about it?
yeah. I mean, I see a few things. So I'll bring them up because I think this all kind of goes together. One, somebody's complaining about some task board items that are not giving enough coins and that the task board is kind of too expensive. Some people are having like a similar complaint about merchant ships. And yeah, there was another comment saying, I love that it's hard to get some resources. I think this is a thing that the game needed, that new players are having a hard time though. And yeah, like some complaints that some of the in-game items are too expensive. Now, here's the tricky part about building a Web3 game that has rewarded play, right? So a lot of the people that say these comments are thinking about this from an earning and like an ROI perspective, right? Which is something to think about, and it is something to like be talking about as we're developing the game, right? Like we can't deny that's a part of the game loop, and that is like a motivation that people are playing, right? Like this is kind of the core of building a Web3 game that has rewarded play with it, right? Now, this is the tricky part because basically every single time that we release a new game feature, everybody wants to rush and get some of the items first. Because normally if you get some of the items first, there's a game advantage, right? So, you know, part of the game and part of the actual like fun part of the play to earn like mindset and game loop is that like puzzle solving aspect of like trying to figure out the best way to get these things before anybody else and like setting up the best system, the most optimized thing. And for it to be like a multiplayer game that's like slightly competitive, because there is a competitiveness to it. If there's only a limited amount of earnings that we can give out inside of the game, it has to be hard to get some of these things, either through skill, through planning, strategy, or cost or time, or any of these things, right? So this is the play to earn dilemma, and especially when you're like having play to earn deep inside of the like game loop, like Core Pixels is, right? So truthfully, you know, as we're thinking about the future of where Pixels is going, I can pull up some of the data, or maybe I'll just kind of go over it with you guys. Again, there's a few goals that we have here at Pixels. One is the game needs to have a sustainable business model, right? That is actually extremely important. I know people don't like to think about that, and they just like to think about, you know, their own experience with earnings and all of this kind of stuff. But, you know, the earnings flywheel works better if there is a sustainable business model. This relates to the token price. This relates to like team runway. This relates to like everything in the picture, right? We need a game that has a sustainable business model and that can grow, right? So we do need to focus on some metrics like return on reward spend, and we need to focus on like certain features like this. And we also need to focus on like fostering a semi-competitive environment when it comes to these key things like earnings, right? When the game has been performing the best with DAU, but the worst with economics is when things have been very, very easy to get, right? Like obviously getting a lot of earnings and getting like all of the items quick is really fun. It's a good feeling and it feels right, right? Like that's the power of play to earn. But also it leads to like kind of a death spiral in certain circumstances, right? Where even if the token's not like inflating a ton or losing value, which, you know, they're hand in hand a lot of the times, like you'll have the game economy inflate a ton too. This is the core thing that we did with chapter 2, where chapter 1, there was a crazy amount of item inflation. And it's kind of funny because the token was new and it still had excitement. So yeah, essentially it kind of got masked for a little bit. But I think we've shown charts of coin inflation in chapter 1, and it was insane. I think coins were inflating like 3 to 4% a day. Now the economy is actually in a much more stable place when it comes to just like game economy. Not even talking about token. And you know, there is a zero sum component to earnings, right? So there is going to be competition and chase and all of this, and that's kind of going to be how these games feel. I feel like I think it's just a natural end result. So figuring out how to make this feel good to more users is a tricky part of the puzzle of building a Web3 game. Like, how do you make it fun? How do you make the competition still work? And how do you not make it like too pay to win, but still make the business economics work as well too? What I'll say is Pixels, Core Pixels is actually the best performing game in Pixel ecosystem right now when it comes to return on reward spend. And it's looking like content and all this stuff is like working decent enough, with a big asterisk that there's still a lot of improvements that we need to make to balance, the monetization, the fun, the feel. But this is probably the most positive direction Pixels has been, I would say, like the last month in its history when it comes to like, oh, maybe we're actually kind of getting there. So some of the stats, return on reward spend over the last week, and this is always going to be pushed a little higher due to an update, has been trending around probably like an average of, 100%, or not 100%, but like 200%. Basically, a return on reward spend of 2. So that basically means in the last 30 days, it's like 150%. So that basically means for every $1 of rewards that we're giving out, we're getting about 50 cents to $1 back in spend. Like we're actually, or sorry, $1.50 to $2 back in spend. Like the game is actually profitable right now. That chart right there is not fully accurate on the Pixel staking dashboard as well. Say it's missing some of the rewards that we give out through other mechanisms. So it's actually a little bit lower than that chart. Like return reward spend consistently about like a little bit over 2 every day for the last week. But that's actually really good. So what that means, and it doesn't really make sense to you guys right now, but what that means is the game is actually on track to be able to support itself and to be able to grow itself. So me as a founder, what am I concerned about right now? What I'm thinking about is how do we start to grow the Pixel user base and the top line revenue, right? Like how do we start to increase the demand for the Pixel token by growing user base, right? So this is nerdy and like econ stuff, but when you're talking about econ, there's this concept of aggregate demand. Basically, you can look at per capita, right? Which is more of like return on reward spend. Like how much is each person in the economy contributing? But really aggregate demand is also a function of like how many people are participating in the economy too. It's both of these things together. And now because Pixels has like a profit margin, we can actually probably start to reinvest in growth. It's kind of crazy. Basically, Pixels is technically deflationary right now in the core game, which is great, right? And that means I don't really care about keeping it deflationary. I care about being able to fuel growth. And now we can use excess tokens to go out and do user acquisition, right? It's really positive. Now that means we still have to continue what we're doing here, the work of making the game better every single week. We need to probably focus on beginning of funnel soon, because these features that we've been releasing, yes, they're kind of working. The audience, likes a lot of what we're doing here. Obviously, there's not perfect. There's valid complaints and the user feedback. Like I promise you we're listening. But yeah, now I think one of the common complaints is that new players have a pretty bad experience. And we always were saying to users that we wanted to focus on figuring out like end game loops first. And this isn't perfect. There's still a lot to figure out here. And I don't think we've completely cracked how to make this game feel like amazing for all of the different types of users we're trying to make it feel amazing for. But this is good enough to start to also invest in growth on new user acquisition, along with continuing to develop out more. So anyone, I just got asked, any chance to increase DAU? So this is exactly what I mean by growth. Like we can start to invest in user acquisition, which means increasing DAU now, because the economics of the game are a lot more sustainable. They are sustainable actually, which is pretty crazy. Like I I wasn't sure if we would get here. I thought so, but I wasn't sure. But it seems like we're doing stuff relatively right now. And that means we can start reinvesting user acquisition. So what's that mean? Like investing in user acquisition, how do we do that? Well, one is through incentive driven growth, right? So new player incentives, referral incentives, early funnel incentives, and any incentive driven growth. This is where Stacked comes into play. If you guys have been following along in the AMAs, Stacked is kind of the big thing that we've been working on for over a year, which is crazy. But essentially, it's a new platform that we're developing that will let us give out incentives to users for different actions across not just pixels, but a lot of different experiences. And truthfully, essentially what it is it's kind of like an ad network almost, but instead of this ad network being like very extractive where we're selling your data to third-party advertisers that like track all your stuff, this type of ad network is basically one that's direct to consumer, where we give you a payout for doing the things that these ad publishers like Pixels would be an ad publisher want you to do. So things like coming into the game, spending and doing all of that, right? So yeah, essentially Stacked will be coming out in the next month, most likely. What we're going to start to do is we're going to start to transition more of the rewards in core Pixels over to Stacked actually as well. And if you're playing Pixels now, we probably won't do this in the very beginning stages, but honestly, expect us to have more of your withdrawals of your tokens not going through the Pixel system in the future, but instead going through the Stacked system. So a lot of the Pixels users will be onboarded through Stacked if they want to participate in like the real money type of gameplay or the like withdraw deposit Pixel type of gameplay. And what's nice about Stacked is essentially we can target rewards for this new user growth a lot more effectively than through what Pixels does. Like instead of basically increasing earnings in the task board for new players, what we would do is we would give a bunch of offers for new players inside of Stacked, right? And these offers can be a lot smarter on how much we give a new user, what kind of user we're giving these new offers to, and it can help incentivize growth, right? The other great part about having a ROARs of over 1 is we can even use some of that margin to go and run paid UA. And the really interesting thing is we've been experimenting a lot with paid UA in the Pixels ecosystem over the last like 4 to 6 months. We've been running a ton of paid advertisements on Chubkins. And I know some of these people watching Pixels AMAs don't like when I talk about Chubkins because they're focused on the core Pixel game, and that's great. And I only bring it up because we're learning so much as we're doing some of the user acquisition stuff that's applicable to core Pixels as well. We've gotten our cost of acquisition for a user in Chubkins to be almost best in class. In some cases, it's under $1. In most cases, it's under $2. So here's what's very interesting. If we have a return on reward spend of 2, so for every $1 of reward that we give out, we get $2 back. Then if we have a customer acquisition cost on a paid UA platform of under $1, that's a paid UA funnel and a paid UA flywheel that we can start as well too, right? So that's kind of the idea here. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of what we're working on essentially. So when it comes to Core Pixel, this is the best performing game in the portfolio, which is very exciting. It's opening up the potential for like a paid UA channel and also a reward driven channel as well. We have Stacked coming out most likely in the next month, and we'll transition a lot of players' earnings onto Stacked. So most active players in Pixels will probably become an active user on Stacked as well. And then that's going to be combined with a bigger push around some other changes to the Pixel ecosystem, right? Like one of the things we're working on now is we'll probably redo some of the tokenomics. Now that won't mean major changes to how most of you experience the Pixel ecosystem, There might be some light changes to staking. This is maybe the time to bring up Runiverse and what's going on there, and like what we're thinking with staking. I kind of wanted to batch all these announcements into one just to like get more attention where it's like, oh, Pixel is changing. But yeah, I think this is an appropriate time to bring it up. Anyways, so our staking, let's talk about that first and like what the intention is and what we had built there. So our staking basically is almost like a decentralized publishing model, right? How Web3 ends up going a lot of the times is you might have great paper ideas that in theory should work, right? I think that's a lot of the ethos of Web3, like decentralized social. Like, yeah, decentralized social should work on paper, right? But then you start to get into the arena and building stuff. And, the theory, while it might be sounding good, isn't so practical. I would say that's kind of the case with our staking system right now, where decentralized publishing is amazing. But here's the issues with it, right? One, we had pretty good deal flow for basically any access to any Web3 game that we could through this publishing system. Like we probably could have got a majority of Web3 games in the system if we wanted to. Now, the issue is the majority of Web3 games, they're not making revenue. They're not even live. They're kind of dying. Web3 games aren't actually very good candidates to be published in general, right? So really what this system needs to work for is like Web 2 and Web 3 games, or games that are just successful in general, right? That's the honest truth. There just really aren't that many games in Web 3 that are appropriate to put in here. So we had a lot of inbound for a staking system that we turned down just because we didn't want to like put them in here and have people stake to them and lose out on rewards. Now, obviously staking is much, much lower risk than like investing in something. Like you're just staking and the opportunity cost is you're missing out on some APR. So it's not a huge risk. But what we want to do moving forward in the staking system is just eliminate the single game risk. It's just not a good experience, basically. The whole idea was, okay, you're supposed to choose the games you like and put your pixel towards them. And it might create a flywheel of them giving incentives out to their own users. Also, another flaw that we figured out was when you just give games incentives to give out, and you give them no direction on how to do it, they don't really know how to give out rewards. This is across the board, right? And that's where Stacked comes into place too. So Stacked is a system that will give out these rewards on behalf of games moving forward. And they don't have to worry about, oh, I've been given 1 million pixel, how do I give it out to my users? Like, truthfully, most games freeze at that thought, or they do it in a bad way that's not actually helpful to their growth or the ecosystem. So moving forward, basically, here's the high level thinking. This isn't an official announcement, but I just want to fill you guys in on the way that we're thinking is, we are going to be working with games and Stacked and other places that might not work out. That's just the games industry, right? It doesn't mean that they're rugging or scams or anything like that, but some games just might not work out. But how do we limit the user exposure to that? Well, one, what we probably should do is we should probably just do like a blended staking. Like maybe on the back end, it's still decentralized and anyone can join. But honestly, you as a user, do you need to know that? Like truthfully, what we should do is we should probably take a mix of like, all of the games and use that as a staking and just kind of like hide the front end, right? So expect that. Two is Stacked is probably the more interesting thing to stake to for that reason. Stacked will be in here as something that you can stake to. And honestly, Stacked might be the main revenue driver in the ecosystem, or like the thing that I think is the most promising, right? Stacked is interesting because it'll probably get exposure to all of the games that Stacked works with, right? It'll handle the distribution of rewards and all of this too. So honestly, expect something like that in our staking ecosystem soon. We're still working through the details, but basically we'll kind of make it so that when you stake Pixel moving forward, you get like a blended exposure to everything inside of the ecosystem rather than having to choose specific games. This backend still might be functional, but yeah, don't think through it so much. Basically, we just want to make it easy for users. Now, you are currently staking to a game. What we did with Forgotten Runiverse is we gave out one more final distribution as a thank you for staking, right? So even if you unstaked your tokens to Forgotten Runiverse, which many of you did, you still get a distribution for the amount of time that you staked from the last distribution, right? So, if you unstaked, you still actually might have tokens to claim there. Go take a look. We will probably disable staking to that game soon. And then if you're still staking to other games in the ecosystem, what I'll tell you is, keep doing what you're doing. We're not going to make the change to the staking immediately. It'll probably take like a month or so to get there. But yeah, if you are currently staking to a game, just like keep doing what you're doing. And when we transition to this blended model, what we'll do is like we won't make you redo anything. If you already have something staked somewhere, we'll just have that like transition still where you'll get like a fair share of like the blended model too. So we won't make you do anything basically, and you'll get moved on to the new model. But if you want to, you can.
Okay, there was one comment that you covered, but I see it a lot and I wanted to reiterate, but now I can't find it. It was about how hard things are for new players. Gosh, how did I lose it? I literally had it like ready to go. Well, anyways,
Well,
the
yeah,
particular, I just want to reiterate because you already mentioned it, but like this particular comment was like merchant ships and parts of Bountiful and parts of like these systems in the game are too hard for new players. And I just want to reiterate, a year ago, we didn't have a lot of these systems, and you guys were begging for more end game, for harder things to do, for what do I do when I'm higher levels? There's nothing for me when I'm hit level 80, 100 and whatnot, right? And that's what all of this content is for. It's for our extreme high level players that have been around a long time. Merchant ships isn't for newer players. Newer players are still figuring out how to farm. They're figuring out what metalworking is and what mining is. There's so much content for new players. I do think that our onboarding needs a refresher. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's amazing, but for new players, there's actually a lot going on. They don't even need to go to the docks for a while. That's for like higher level players, and that's okay. And that's the whole point. Okay. There was a question actually.
Yeah, so I think these two are kind of related too, though. So when it comes to new user acquisition and new user rewards, this is like what Stacked is intended to do also. So one, if you add, I think we all know this, if you've been in the Pixels ecosystem for a long time, if you add rewards too early into the funnel of a game, it'll get botted, right? And bots will take up a lot of the rewards, right? Now, there's ways that you can solve that and help remove that through gameplay, things like a reputation system, things like scarcity, things like competition. That's why we tried mechanics like Neon Zone or, Chapter 3, which are like working decently well. But yeah, it's also something that's so powerful to a user when they start to receive earnings in the game very early on, right? Like that is the flywheel that attracted even many of you here today still, right? When you first earn a berry or when you first earn Pixel and you did it pretty quickly, it's an amazing feeling, right? So the dilemma with the Web3 game is how do you get users that experience quickly while not giving your rewards to bots? That's what Stacked is trying to solve, basically. And that's why we're going to be transitioning a lot of the rewards to Stacked. So we can still do some user acquisition to an early player and still give them some rewards while not messing up the mechanics of the game and the whole game economy doing that. So, we might do some things where it's like, okay, when a new user joins Stacked and they've never played Pixels before, we learn a little bit about them based on all of the data that we've been collecting. We can like build a profile and kind of analyze potential like habits that this user will do. And then we determine if we should give them a reward, right? And we can give them like a new user bonus. And we're like, oh, we think this player will be a good player because they played all these other games. Maybe they have a Steam library. We don't have a Steam connection, but like that's an example. But like we know they're probably a good player. So we'll give them an incentive to play Pixels and like jump in quickly. Like maybe we'll have them do their first merchant ships task and give them like a Pixel bonus for that. So we can basically give out these more precise and targeted rewards to these early users without having to mess up the core game loop and still give them an experience and get them in and get them hooked, right? That's kind of the intention of Stacked. and like how we want to balance the new users versus like old users. We still want to get them the magical moment of earning quickly, because everyone here knows how insane that is. Like the first feeling of getting a pixel is, but you have to do it in a smart way or it gets abused.
I laughed halfway through that, not because of what you were saying, but because of this. So, landowners, this is for you, my landowners out there in the chat listening to us yap, okay? This user wants us to figure out silo storage space. I am famously team increase silo storage space. Now, we're at a standstill. We've been at a standstill for months. So, Aesthetic Alley 2195. It's Alienor. It's literally Alienor. Okay. Well, I was going to say, I encourage you to hop in chat and talk about it with the rest of the landowners, because standstill is, hanging on strong. I'm still team increased storage space, but it's fine. All right, let's look. Oh, do you want a stacked question here? Will there be a referral program?
Yeah, so there'll be a few parts of Stacked that we're experimenting with. So also remember, Stacked, it's not going to be the perfect product when it first comes out. There's a lot behind it on the data science side, but there's still going to be some like kinks to work through. It's not going to be perfect, right? Now, we're going to start to experiment with a few forms of growth incentives specifically for Stacked and for other games too, right? So the goal of Stacked, it's twofold, right? For the user, like I kind of want the intention for it to be like the earn money app. Like I come here, I do tasks, I earn. Now on the business side, like why a business would want to work with us, or a game, or a chain, or like a product in Web2, is they have access to users, and they can like give them tasks that they would want them to do that would lead to help for them. Like maybe the chain wants more users, maybe the game wants more spend, all of this kind of stuff, right? So that's where the actual tasks come from those games. Now, it's going to be very helpful for us to have more users in Stacked, because the more users in Stacked is helpful to like growing that like network of users that would make Stacked more valuable, to have more companies come and use it, to give more offers to the users, right? There's like a little bit of a flywheel, or like a cold start, where the more users that Stacked has, the more people are willing to use it, basically on like the business side and on the consumer side, because they have more things to do and more ways to earn. But yeah, in the beginning stages, expect a new content creation tool to come through Stacked, where you can get rewarded for creating content. Expect referrals in new games like Chubkins for sure. And then maybe we'll add social to Stacked in another update. I don't think we're planning on a referral purely in Stacked yet, but it might be something that we can add. Like these types of tasks are actually very, very easy for us to add in the system. Like we don't have to release code. We can just like, get it in kind of instantly if we wanted to. And that'll be a lot of the experimentation. Yeah, and that was another question from Hansal about Stacked. So Stacked has like an SDK with it, basically, where developers can integrate like a Stacked SDK. We'll get events from their game and like start to understand their users a little bit better. And then we can use that data that we have on their users to help them give out rewards inside of their game too. So it's going to be open to any game to be able to use it. And honestly, the more games that use it close to launch, the better. Just because it gives all of you guys more things to do, right? It's a better experience for any of our users using Stacked if there's more things for them to do and more ways to earn, right? Like who doesn't like that? So yeah, we're not gonna close off that system and be like anti-competitive there. Like I want more opportunities for the users in Stacked to be able to do more things and earn more, basically. So yeah, there's a few games that we're going to partner with on the launch immediately. And we're going to keep working on supporting more and more. The team will only have so many resources to do like white glove support at the beginning stages though. But any game is welcome, and Stacked can give out any token too. That's the cool thing about it. So, it doesn't just need to work with like Pixel or points. Like if they have tokens that they want to give out, that game, or like a hard currency. It doesn't even need to be a Web3 currency. It can be literally anything inside of their games. They can give that out, and we can help them with the distribution and be smart about it.
Okay, there's a couple of quick questions that I'll answer. Is the task board anywhere? You mean the addition to the HUD? If you guys didn't notice, there's a new button in the top right of the screen for VIP only to access the task board from anywhere. It does cost a little bit of energy, though, I will say. Is that a permanent addition? Yes. Yes, it is. And then someone is asking to increase spec size. Guys, it's almost as big as a small NFT land. So no, it will not get any bigger. But there's like 6 upgrades or something like that. I'm sure you're at the biggest one already, though.
I want more quests for beginners, feeling abandoned as if a younger brother had appeared and forgotten about me. May I have some of your attention left? So
We
when it
released
comes-
a bunch of beginner-friendly quests. You probably did them all, but we
yeah,
did.
so
There's a lot.
there are so many ways that core pixels could go and grow, right? Especially when it comes to content and game mechanics. Now, this only ever makes sense to invest in those areas once the economics are slightly figured out, right? Now, it's a little more nuanced and complicated than that when you're thinking about the game development lifespan, where there is like a minimum, like you need love in the game, you need content, like you do need all of that for all of these things to work together. But Web3 gaming is really tricky, right? Where we always want to solve the end game loops first and make sure that we have like something that's viable. And like really the return on reward spend being positive for an extended period of time is like the marker that I was needing to look and see. And yeah, it's actually looking like really good lately, which is great. And that actually means that we can start to polish the like the end user experience and make something that really really works for more people and feels better and like has more love in those areas too. So yeah, I agree with you. It is important. Stacked can solve P to E. I mean, that's the goal. If Stack doesn't solve the play to earn formula, then it won't work as well. So it is important, and that is kind of the goal of it. Is Stack only mobile based? No, there'll be a web app too. I think we probably want people to use mobile more. The nice part about mobile is we can send push notifications to users if they have something new that they could do, which is really powerful. It's like if you had a new task that you could do in Pixels to earn Pixel, we could tell you that via push notification. So that's the advantage to
Subscribe to the Pixels post.
yeah, it's us and like
As good
short
as it
run, but
gets.
it'll also be mobile available. Like there'll be when we launch Stacked, there will only be crypto cash out at the beginning. But we're gonna add other forms of cash out eventually that you don't need to know crypto for. Crypto cash out is so annoying anywhere besides web. Like I hate doing anything crypto on mobile too.
But like, is that super millennial of us? Oh wait, you're not a millennial.
I'm a zillennial. I'm like
I'm a millennial too.
no, you're a millennial.
No, I'm a millennial. Both by age and culturally. I sometimes meet other 30-year-olds and I'm like, I need to grow up. Here. Will Stacks give out vPixel and or USDC?
Yeah, it can give out any of that. The beginning stage will probably be Pixel, maybe also vPixel. And then we'll start to transition to USDC. We're not quite ready to do that, but I want to get there like as quick as we can. Congratulations. see, these comments are nice. Congratulations on the new update. It got me hooked up all day. It would be a good idea if you can make it so I can hover over the cursor items to show where to be crafted from, or animals collect it. This would be an immense help since there's so many new items in the game. Yeah, this was like an intimidating update. There was a lot, right? And this is like, this is the best kind of stuff to hear when we get comments like this, because like, okay, some of the stuff that we're doing is right, and there's more ways that we can go down some of these directions. I think the big thing about this update was the team just was able to fix so much stuff that was so clearly broken before. So the team spent like a lot of time like being very, very diligent on making sure everything like finally made sense. There's like interconnected recipes. Like I think they did a really, really good job. So yeah, props to everybody who worked on that at the Pixels team. And yeah, it is pretty exciting.
Yeah, and a feature like what you're asking for is something that I feel like some of the extensions and third-party made tools are do such a good job of. I don't know if anyone's doing it yet. I mean, yeah, there you go. Literally, exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So, I guess stay tuned for Nerd.
Hi guys, do you have any plans on doing Guild Wars event again with USDC prize pool? Events like that could really bring life to the game. I like the prize pool model and like tournament model. Like there is something interesting there. Now, there's like tournaments and skill-based games are sometimes hard because it appeals to like a very small niche of the people in the game, right? Like some people don't like the competitive element, and then sometimes with like intense skill-based tournaments, like really only like 10 people are going to win, right? So I like the model, especially since we already have the systems up. That's not a thing that's like crazy hard for us to set up as an event where it's interesting is what I'll say. But I'm not going to commit to that or promise that on the AMA right now, but there's stuff that's interesting there.
Yeah. The continuation, or I guess having another sports event is quite divided internally. And I fear the person that would need to lead the project leans hard no. So we'll work on it. But
yeah, or there might be other tiny things.
There's
but
no promises.
The spirit of competition and like a prize pool around the competition, I like.
Oh my gosh, we only have 3 minutes left. Today has just gone by so quickly. Any Valentine's or Lunar New Year events? Honestly, I'm not sure, because team has been so slammed with all of these other updates that have been being worked on that I'm not sure if we actually have capacity to do anything crazy, which breaks my heart because we've done pretty cool events for these two events the past couple years, but we'll see. We are famous internally. You guys might not know this, for just pulling stuff out of the blue. Within 24 hours, we built something. So I'm going to say I'm really not sure, but you never know with us. So.
Do you accept content creators who create reels from games and guide new players on Instagram and TikTok?
Please,
yeah, so
please, absolutely.
We'll actually also start rewarding that more directly too. That's super valuable. This is such a off-topic thing, but one thing that's not in Stacked where I'm like, dang, is I feel like the UGC side of things is getting different in the last month or two. What we've been doing and experimenting a lot is like UGC formats for Chubkins, for our paid ads even. And
he's not talking about UGC and Pixels art. This is like the real use of the term. Like,
yeah, when people talk about UGC and like content. Advertising, what they mean is like you pay an influencer to make like a short reel about your company, and then they post it on their Instagram, and they like advertise your company, right? So that's like the UGC I'm talking about. Clipping, yeah, basically that. And yeah, there's something really interesting where we found like a few formats that work. there's another whole trend going on just in the greater industry, and this is such a tangent. I don't know if anyone cares, but of like AI is getting really, really good at like making clips and content also. I feel like there's something interesting eventually of like, helping you guys make clips with AI to post on your TikTok of the formats that we know work already. But yeah, that won't be in the first version of Stack. We'll just reward, if you get views on TikTok basically for pixels. Like you'll have to like make a hashtag. We'll give you actual pixel rewards if you get like a certain amount of views on TikTok. And yeah, it's a pretty interesting way for us to kind of go in the long run.
Amazing. I think you ended that spiel like right as my clock changed to the hour. So is there anything else you wanted to go over, or should we end it there?
No, there's a lot here.
Her name is
that we went
Ella.
through.
She has 4 legs. Okay.
Well, I think that's all for today.
I thought you said there were more things you wanted to go over. We're good then. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's all for today. Yeah, thanks everybody. I know it's a weird time at Web3 gaming. Yeah, we're seeing more and more games shut down. Yeah, it's tough out there, right?
Okay, bye.
But yeah, we're still here. We're still building. How long have we been doing this now?
4 years.
Yeah, more than that. That's crazy.
Well, like 4 years. Well, for me, 4 years ago, almost to the day, we were in Miami trying to hire devs. Did not.
I think the NFT is almost 4 years old now. I think the NFT maybe launched January 31st, 2022. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I like barely knew what an NFT was, and I was like, NFT launch. I was fresh on the team. All right, let's stop reminiscing. We do this too much now. All right. Love you guys. We'll see you. Bye.